learned to walk around, when I learned to walk around, I walked into Eugene and Kenny Flax was doing walk-arounds and Stuart said, just do that. And so I did them for about a month and finally Stuart got fed up because I didn't know what I was doing. So, there's a set number of steps in the walk-around every time you go around. Either 6 or 4 is kind of the common. Okay, has everybody any paid attention to that other than Judd?
AG.
So I started with 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, that's the start of the throw. All the stuff that happens back here really doesn't matter. You just don't want to screw that first thing up. Okay, so that's why we do the walk-arounds like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? I know that there's some schools that say 4, and 4 is fine, but here's the issue. So if you're doing 6, here, well, let's just do it. Let's see what. I know you're going to be good at it. That's the problem. Well, I'll just show you what happens to save time. So what you're going to see in some of your throwers is they're going to go 1, 2. Okay, that's not right. So, because what's that going to do? You're going to leave the ball behind when you're throwing. You're going to leave the ball behind, make this gigantic step, and come back to here. Okay? Instead of, and that's hard to do. It's hard for your brain to wrap around that, right? Because we're built to walk in, fairly even steps, and that's all you're doing here is walking around with even steps. 1, 2. Except you just happen to be going around in a circle. If you get a kid that can't do that, what's worked for me in the past is to make it linear, okay? Because a lot of people, hopefully we're all here hammer throwers and we get walking around in circles. A lot of people don't, javelin throwers. So, okay, so instead of going 360 degrees, let's go a set distance. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh crap, that wasn't right. Let's try it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. No, that's not right either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That's still not quite right. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. So people can learn that really quickly, any distance, right? It doesn't have to be a set distance. It's just talk them into the fact that they're just setting up a cadence of even steps, because that's all it is. Come around, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if you want to do 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. The problem with 4 is you can see I'm even doing a little bit. 1, 2, 3. You shut that last quadrant off, and you have to pull around it. That's the danger in the 4. Because it's a bigger step, you have more of a chance of failing. So if you break it down to the 6, or if you're a good enough coach to have them really break down the 4, what happens is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now look at where that foot is right before I take my last step. I'm only going to step 60 degrees, right? That's a quick step. From there to there is nothing. That's easy. It's a straight step. Okay? But if you try to step from here, oh heck, I got to go more than 180 degrees. That's hard to do. Even if you do have a ball carrying it, it's still hard to do. Let's do it from there. So you throw the ball, then you step. See how I make that really quick? Ideally, in a magical world, there would be no time in the air, right? There'd be no single support. You'd magically be from here in double support to here in double support, and then you're the fastest human on earth. You're like, who's the superhero that's so fast?
The Flash.
The Flash. And you're there again for the next turn, and it's seamless. Okay. Unfortunately, we have 2 legs and a nervous system and all that. So we have to have that break, but let's try to minimize that without being goofy, because at some point then, you can't do this at full speed. We're just not fast enough. So So if you try to do it at full speed, you're going to have some period and then you're going to be in late, right? So the way you fix that is you come off a little bit earlier, but the timing stays the same, and that's the key. Maybe let's clear this. I'm going to maybe throw.
Get the video out.
So, see if I can get, it's been a long time. Let's see if I can get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 5, 6, 1. See it? The step, the walk around goes seamlessly into a turn, and the cadence stays the same. 1, 2, 3. Now notice the other thing is I'm just walking. I'm not, 1, 2, right? I'm just walking. 1, 2. If you really have a talented athlete, you can drop a little bit on that first turn. I didn't start dropping until I'd thrown over 80 meters about 5 times. So all of my training up until about 1996 was just level. Okay, and this is what I was going to talk about tomorrow too. The lifting and dropping against the ball, it's not wrong. You watch the videos, especially of the big boys, and they do that. But keep in mind, if you're coaching women, or if you're coaching high school kids, high school boys at 250 pounds, the video that we're watching is usually now, well, the videos we watched were Yuri Sadiq at 240, throwing 86 meters. Now maybe you're watching T-Cone, God help you. See, now why did I have to say that out loud?
Sometimes you just do.
Come on! Let's use Koji. You're watching Koji at 210, throwing 83 meters. Obviously the forces and the reactive dynamics are greater on those guys than they are on your 250-foot high school guy throwing a 12-pound 200 feet, or even your college guy throwing a 16, 200, 210 feet. The dynamics just aren't there. The ball's not going as fast, so the reaction isn't, so the resistance isn't as much. So, long story short, stay level. Keep your hips level. And even if you really look at Koji, even though and I use Koji because A, I know what he did, and B, to me, he's the most dynamic thrower. If you really break Koji down and set a line, get him in your video and set a line at his hips, they don't move. They go up and down just barely, right? He actually barely changes position. He barely even does this. Because he's back here against it, and then when he comes around, he's there. So that's the only difference, is his attitude in the world. Okay, the less you can move, the better. The other example I use, since everybody's listening now, airplanes, right? So back in the day with the biplanes, you know, and the Sopwith Camel and all these guys, Barnston, and they got this big stick and they're going, they got the cables going to the control panels, right? Big movements, slow airplanes, right? As the airplanes got faster, those movements get smaller and smaller. Now, like with an F-16, the stick doesn't move. The stick is pressure sensitive. And these pilots continually do these if you watch a pilot that flies these hyper advanced jets, they're sitting there doing stuff with their hands like this all day long. They're practicing all the time. Okay, here's a roll. And it has to be faster than that, otherwise your plane blows up and you eject and maybe you live. So the point is, the faster you want the movement, the faster you want to go, the smaller the movement has to be, okay? So if we do a whole bunch of up and down, that's a slow movement, okay? How does that work then, Lance? How do you counter the ball? Well, think about the physics. If you've got a decent orbit, and you're coming through zero, here's zero, I'm going to change it. You're coming through zero, and the ball's down here, it's below your hips. right? It's below your center of gravity. So if you're staying level, you're effectively you're lifting up against the ball. You're exerting vertical force against the system, right? So then you go up here, and the ball's up here, and well, I have to drop or else I'm going to fly out of the ring. Yeah, okay. Same argument though. If your hips are level, you're pulling down against the ball, right? In an ideal world, yeah, a little bit, but it takes so long to learn that, and it's a spinal reflex. If you try to do it, let me rephrase that. When I tried to do it, I would be 90 to 180 degrees out of sync. So I go down with the low point, up with the high point, down with, and that's slow, it's so slow. Because that adds both my big movement and then a bigger movement with the ball. And that's not what you want. You want the ball to go faster around the circle, not up and down. So where were we? Well, I got off on a tangent on that one. Walk-arounds. You don't walk down the street like this, right? You just walk around. Your hips stay relatively level. That's the way we're built to be. That's the way our nervous systems are made to work. And all this stuff in your lower legs and your hands and your arms and everything else, your ears, we're put together to do that. So let's not try to change that. Let's just change the weird crap like going around in a circle. All right, so why don't you come in, tell me your name again. Mackenzie. Is it Mackenzie?
Yep.
So just do a walk around in 2 turns. Go ahead. I picked the wrong person because she's nervous around people.
She's a
You can do it.
gamer.
Try that, do a 6-step, and then when you get the